Taking trolley problem memes seriously yet again. If you pull the lever, the trolley will run over and kill a clone of Hitler. That has to be a Godwin's Law record for this channel. The clone has all of Hitler's memories and fully believes that they are him and that he committed all of his actions even though he didn't. Do you pull the lever? Now, of course, there is an entire question about whether you should kill someone as retribution even for the most heinous crimes. But that's not what's interesting about this. The interesting question is that if this person isn't actually Hitler, but thinks that he is it right for us to punish him? Well, what is punishment for? For some people, punishment is all about retribution. The reason that people get thrown in jail is because they deserve it. For others, punishment is purely functional. The only reason we should have punishment in the first place is because it serves some practical purpose, either to deter other people from doing the same thing, or to just prevent that person from doing it again. So, okay, if this person really believes he's Hitler and has all of his memories, and presumably also his worldview and ambitions, you might want to kill him just to prevent him from going on and starting any new political projects. But you can't punish someone for something they might go on to do, at least not morally, it seems to most people. But there is a really interesting question about what makes you lurking in this trolley problem. Like, imagine we decided we want to punish Hitler. He never got punished for his crimes, and so we decide to make this clone in order to punish him. Maybe it's AI, maybe it's totally digital, but we create this conscious robot that truly believes that it's Hitler, has all of the memories of Hitler, and we do it for the sake of that feeling of justice, that someone who at least believes he's Hitler is finally punished for those crimes. Some of this might depend on how this person ended up in this situation. Did somebody else just decide to clone Hitler and he helplessly found himself here? Or did Hitler himself decide to make a clone of himself? That would be interesting. Something about Hitler himself choosing to make the clone makes me feel better about punishing the clone. Yeah, sure, but it probably still feels to you like it's a different person. But are you sure? Are you willing to gamble on it? Imagine, for example, that you're about to die, and you're told that after you die, a perfect clone will be created of you with all of your memories, woken up, and then tortured. Would you be scared? I don't know, maybe I'm being irrational, but I'd at least be a little bit upset about it. Whatever the case, some food for thought. Okay, next, in this problem, on the bottom track are internet service providers, hackers, and big tech, and riding in the trolley is your internet data. And by pulling the lever, you can divert your internet data onto a separate, secure track where it is safe from those threats. Seems pretty straightforward to me. And guess what? That lever actually exists, and it's today's sponsor, Private Internet Access VPN. If you're browsing the internet on an unencrypted Wi-Fi network, like at a hotel or in a cafe, your data is at risk. Private Internet Access helps secure your private information. By rerouting your data through a separate secure server somewhere else in the world, it hides your IP address and protects your personal information from those who might be trying to steal it. And because PIA can make it seem like you're anywhere in the world, you can access content that's usually restricted by region. So, for example, I can watch US Netflix even when I'm in the UK, and PIA never record or store user data. Their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court via a third-party audit from Deloitte. So try it out for yourself and protect an unlimited number of devices from one subscription, by the way, by going to piavpn.com/Alex. Use my link to get 83% off a subscription for as little as $2.03 a month, as well as getting 4 months extra for free. With that said, let's keep going. Okay, here's one from the online game Absurd Trolley Problems. Oh no, a trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, but then the original copy of the Mona Lisa will be destroyed. What do you do? I think it's fairly obvious that you should be destroying the Mona Lisa here. I mean, sure, it's the Mona Lisa. You might want to think about it for a moment. It's the most famous painting in the world, it's incredibly valuable, it's really cool, but it is just a painting. And if you go to see the Mona Lisa in the Louvre in Paris, you're going to be sort of in a crowd, you're going to be behind a barrier, you're going to be looking at it through some glass, and so you probably actually get a better look at the Mona Lisa on your computer screen than you would do if you went to see it in the museum. So can we really sacrifice 5 people's lives to sustain that experience? I think obviously not. And it turns out that 74% of the people who played this game agree with me, over, wow, 10.4 million votes. But I hate to keep things so simple. I want you to now imagine that it's not just the Mona Lisa on that side of the track, but say every single painting in the Louvre. What are you doing now? You probably still want to save the people's lives. Okay, what if it includes the building of the Louvre? I'm probably still saving the people. Okay, so what if pulling the lever meant destroying every single art gallery in the world, including the buildings themselves? Maybe you say yes, but you can keep turning up the dial here. I mean, what if I took the city of London or the city of Paris, choose your favorite, most beautiful city in the world, and the whole place gets completely flattened. No one gets killed, but all of the buildings are destroyed and replaced with brutalist high-rise apartment blocks. Would you pull the lever? It was a friend of mine who first asked me this question over a drink, and I found it incredibly interesting. His name's Matthew. He's actually got a YouTube channel called The Liberator, covers history and ethics, and he's just started, so go and check it out. He asked me what the most beautiful building in the world was, and I think that from the outside, the Palace of Westminster is at least up there. And he asked, would I destroy it to save the life of an innocent person? And I said yes, and then he kept just turning up the dial in this way. Whatever your value of human life is, you've got to admit it's at least difficult to imagine destroying, say, every single beautiful building in the world, every single bit of art in the world, just to save the life of 1, 2, 5 people. That might still be the right thing to do, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't at least find it difficult. So as far as this trolley problem goes, yeah, I'm destroying the Mona Lisa, but I'm interested in what you think about this broader question of material objects versus human life. Is there some number of beautiful buildings or beautiful pieces of art that you wouldn't have destroyed, even if it meant that 5 innocent people had to die to keep them around? As YouTubers like to say, let me know in the comments. Okay, so here you've got the same number of people on both tracks. Here's the question. You've always wanted to know what it's like to take a life. Is it permissible to divert the trolley? I think this is a straightforward way to work out if you are, crudely speaking, a utilitarian or not. If you believe that it's wrong to kill, and that's not because of the consequences, that's not because of the effect on pleasure and suffering, but just because it's wrong. Maybe because God thinks it's wrong, maybe because there's some law written into the universe called morality, then you can't pull the lever here. It's an immoral thing to do. However, if you're a utilitarian, it shouldn't really make much of a difference. 5 people die in either case. And kind of grotesquely, because you get some joy out of pulling the lever, because you get this utility of finding out what it's like to take someone's life, which is something you've always wanted to do, you might actually maximize pleasure by pulling the lever. And so if you're going to get a kick out of killing these people, and the same number of people are going to die either way, you might not just be permitted to pull the lever, you might be obligated to pull the lever. To me, that seems like totally insane. And so I guess I've just worked out that, hey, I'm not a utilitarian. I'm sure there exists some version of adapted utilitarianism or whatever that makes it wrong for me to pull the lever here, but I think I've at least found out that my ethics isn't crudely about the maximization of pleasure. And that's why these thought experiments are just so useful. It's not really so much about trying to find out what the right thing to do is here, but paying attention to what you happen to think is the right thing to do and learning what your ethical worldview might be as a result of how you answer these questions. Next, the trolley is headed towards one person. If you do nothing, there is a 100% chance one person will die. If you pull the lever, it will divert the trolley towards a box that has a 99% chance of being empty, but a 1% chance of containing 100 people. What do you do? This question is about expected value. To calculate expected value, you multiply the probability of an outcome by its potential return. So in this case, you would multiply the 100 people by the probability 0.01, which is the same as 1%. On the other side of the track, you multiply the 1 person, but this time by 100% probability, so it's 1 times 1. In either case, you get the same outcome, 1 person. So according to the expected value, these are equivalent, right? Not so fast. There are a few things to consider. Firstly, if these situations are genuinely equivalent, you have to remember that this is a trolley problem. You're not just picking one option or another, you're choosing whether to pull a lever or not. In the original basic trolley problem, many people don't pull the lever simply because they don't want to get involved. They don't spend a ton of time trying to figure out what's the most moral outcome. They think to themselves, which one has me involving myself and which one doesn't? And if these two options are genuinely equivalent, then perhaps this can be the only determining factor, meaning that maybe we shouldn't pull the lever. So that's one thing, but also, are these actually equivalent at all? They certainly feel different, and that might have something to do with the way that we add values up. My friend Phil Halper gave me this helpful analogy. Imagine you're playing a game a bit like Deal or No Deal. There are 2 boxes. One has no money in it, one has $250,000. You have to pick a box at random. You've got a 50% chance of $250,000 and a 50% chance of losing it all. So the expected value here is 50% times $250,000, which is $125,000. $90,000. But now suppose you're offered a deal. The host says to you, we're going to offer $90,000. If you take it, you go home right now. If you don't, you still get to play the game for the chance of $250,000. Maybe you're a gambling person and you'd still take the risk, but I think a lot of people would take the $90,000 and run. That's certainly what I would do. But remember, the expected value here was $125,000, which is higher than 90. So are they being irrational to take the $90,000? On a crude formulation of expected value, yeah, this is totally irrational, but it doesn't seem like it's irrational. So what's going on? Well, this is probably because monetary value doesn't compound or add together in a linear fashion. It's like the law of diminishing returns. Think about the difference between getting $500,000 and $1 million. The second is definitely better, but is it exactly doubly valuable to you? More valuable, sure, but not exactly in line with the amount of extra money that you've made. So in our trolley problem, rather morbidly, it might be that human death kind of acts in the same way. What I mean by that is that if I kill 100 people, that's bad. If I kill 200 people, that's definitely worse, but is it exactly twice as bad? Well, first, let's just think about how we feel about it. Famously, in contexts like historical events or the number of people that could be helped by charity, big numbers of people are difficult to emotionally connect with. This is why, by the way, if you see an advert on TV for a charity, they don't show you statistics about the huge numbers of people you could help. They focus in on one person. They give you one example of one person's life, just because that's going to have more of an emotional effect on you. And it's proven that it makes people donate more money. If I said to you that 11 million people recently died in a famine, that might upset you. But if I said, oh, sorry, I gave you the wrong number, I meant to say 22 million people, that might upset you more, but would you feel doubly upset? Would like all of the emotions that you were already feeling double exactly in their intensity? Probably not. And that's probably because of this diminishing returns working in the same way that money does. Expected value can help us work out what will probably make you more money, but it won't work out what's actually more valuable to you. So yeah, the EV is the same in terms of number of people in this trolley problem, but you might just feel better about sending the trolley towards that box because of the way that the value of different human lives are being added up in your emotions here. But the final consideration is this. I've been talking about how you feel towards this situation, but should the way you feel determine what you ought to do? If you're an ethical emotivist, like I am, then perhaps your emotions and what's moral are inseparable ideas. In that case, there is no should or should not outside of your emotions. But for the objectivist, they might say that most people would send the trolley in one direction versus the other, but you should, in fact, have no preference. What would you do? What should you do? The comment section is at your disposal. Remember to go to piavpn.com/Alex to protect your online security and subscribe if you want to. That's it. You can go now.